Hi, everybody. We want to say hello from the Bioscope Balkan, where that is one of the two main venues of this Belgrade Photo Month 2021 edition. We want to say first thanks to the Foundation Sasa Marchita for allowed us to be here in such an amazing and beautiful space, where we have 10 different projects. One of them is by Klaus Pichler, who cannot come to Belgrade, but we're going to have him today online. I would like also to give the special thanks to the Austrian Culture Forum in Belgrade and to the Embassy of Austria in Serbia for their essential support to can have first Klaus exhibition with us, and second, the talk that we are having today. Thank you very much to all the team of the Austrian Culture Forum. And now I just would like to introduce Klaus. Klaus is here with us online. Hello, Klaus. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure, of course. I will say that I would like to be now with your work in our back, but we have the problem that your work is in a quiet dark room with the spotlights, and then we are destroying all the image. Then we are in the ground floor, we are with another exhibition in our back, but please, everybody who is in Serbia, in Belgrade, or who will be passing by until 3rd June, come here, go to the -1 floor and enjoy Klaus' work. Well, thank you for being here. How are you? How is the situation now with the COVID in Austria?
It's getting better and better at the moment. I got my first vaccination on Sunday, and I'm not in a risk group, so it more and more gets easier to get access to the vaccination. And I think the overall mood has changed a lot. So I think the times of lockdown are quite over. There are some restrictions, but I think that we are on a good way, and I hope that the pandemic will be finished soon, hopefully.
Yes, we hope. Can you have the opportunity now in Austria to have, to can visit museums, galleries, or to have openings?
To have openings, not, but there were times where the museums were open and there were times where the museums were closed. So it was quite difficult because the situations were the museums were sometimes labeled as cultural institutions and sometimes as institutions of leisure activities. Nobody knows why, and in the first lockdown everything was closed, and now from I think November till the end of January the museums were closed again. But in the meantime, it was a really great opportunity to go to the tourist museums and to have a look at the very famous paintings without being crowded. So I enjoyed it a lot.
I think that in places so popular like Paris with the museums, or in Barcelona also, for example, with the Museum Picasso, it happens a bit the same. Suddenly, the people has the opportunity to enjoy the city. The citizen, let's say.
That's right. But on the other hand, I'm working for a lot of museums, so I'm taking photos of the exhibitions. And in some cases, it was really threatening because all the money from the entry fees was not there at the moment, and they were really in existential situations. So I'm really happy that I'm seeing more and more tourists again in Vienna, and I'm happy about that.
Yes, it's same here in Belgrade. Last 2 days ago, I went to pick up one photographer to the airport, Nathan Veer, who opened the exhibition yesterday. I said to him, "Fuck, I'm so happy. For 1 year and a half, I didn't went to the airport for nothing. I got to pick up somebody." You know? Okay, I want to say a little bit to the people about you. You are living and working in Vienna, in Austria. You studied landscape architecture at the University of the Science in Vienna. From then, you have been working like a freelancer photographer. Your work has been exhibited worldwide, from Rome to Hong Kong, from Oslo to Paris, New Delhi, and obviously in Belgrade now. And you had quite amount of books published or self-published. That is something very interesting that we can see later if we can talk and you can show us some ones. But then let's start by the beginning. When you started to be interested in photography, and which was your motivation? Probably could be in the university. It was before, when you were a kid, you had a father who loved the photography. How was your case?
It was really a coincidence. So when I was 14, my mother gave me a camera as a Christmas present, but I don't know, there was no connection to it. I don't know. I had the camera in my hand and I didn't know what to do with it. So the first attempt of bringing me to photography failed horrendously. But when I was 19, I began to study in Vienna, and I did landscape architecture, and we had plenty of excursions to like rural regions and regions in the countryside. And I thought, okay, I will never go there again, probably, most likely. So I bought a camera, and then suddenly the magic happened. It was a Minolta, mirror DSLR camera. No, not an SLR camera, in fact, an analog one. And suddenly the magic happened. And I remember when I unpacked the camera, I felt like, okay, that's the tool to my future, more or less. And by that, gradually I began to develop the love to photography, and it got more and more important in my life. And when I was in the last third of my studies, I just decided, okay, I will finish my studies, but then I will try to be a freelance photographer. And since then, I don't regret it at all. I'm still happy on a daily basis that I became a photographer.
I think that with the work that you did, you cannot means you are doing a very good work. It means it's a shame if any day you decide to stop. Well, everybody can stop and do something else, of course, but you see the Rollings are still playing.
Yeah, but I hope not. And
of course.
There was nothing in my life except eating and drinking, maybe, which is making me happy on a constant basis, and it changes all the time. That's a good thing about photography, that I get different influences, I get different topics, different projects to work on, and it's never the same. Also, photography in general changes a lot. So it's a 5 or 10 year rhythm where you see new trends, new discourses, new approaches, and then also some landmark books and projects from other photographers who shaped the whole medium and the whole genre. And I think it's really, really cool to be part in a movement which is shaping the face of a medium.
Absolutely. And you are a person that somehow you are squeezing also the technology, because technology is changing all the time, and you are playing with.
Yeah, definitely.
And then every day you have a new challenge or new tools to play with.
Yeah. I remember when I was a really, really freshman in photography, my first jobs were weddings. And I was a wedding photographer at an agency. The boss was an American, and he brought this wedding photojournalism to Europe, or to Vienna in particular. And I remember this kind of photography. It was quite in 2004 or 5, where the first digital cameras were accessible and had high ISO capacities. I remember that I always thought, okay, this way of photography wouldn't have been possible in analog ages, because it's just like being there and being on spot and not focusing or something. It's like shooting, producing material, and then in the end selecting it and cover the photography like from the second row. And that was an approach which is completely digital. And then I began to understand what digital photography is all about.
Yeah. You changed your mind, let's say, a bit.
Completely. It was mind-blowing for me, because I just thought, yeah, that's the inherent power of digital photography. Just like not to think about technique or focus, or if you spare the photos and to use the 36 or 24 or 10 exposures on a film roll in the most clever way, but it was just like producing stuff in the moment, and I enjoyed it a lot.
Crazy. Tell us something. Can you mention some of your references? Let's say inspirations. Probably not inspirations. Could be a reference in terms of a photographer. Photographer could be a reference somehow, or a writer. I don't know, a film director, a musician. Something that somehow moves you, motivate you, or means inspire you.
It's difficult, because I'm interested in so much things apart from photography, and I think, to sum it up, it's for me, the things which are not into photography are the ones that are inspiring me, and I think the best photographers are the ones who have different fields. Like, I don't know, no matter if it's ex-zoologist or sociologist or whatever, psychologist, and I think to get an overview what happens in the world just shapes my interest. And at the moment, it's like natural science and sciences which is inspiring me the most. But of course, it's like movies or music. I have been a metalhead for like more than 15 years, I think. And this way of thinking, like just pushing borders and not caring about like what let's say to have some kind of civil disobedience, not in behavior but more in approaches and more in like genres and borders, that this rebellious gesture, it still moves me in photography, to think outside the box and to try something new.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, it means we have to move to be moving our brains, our feelings, and our motivations all the time, of course. Let's say that your work is a bit particular.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, it means everyone's work is particular, has his point of view, but it means you are not a documentary, you are not photojournalist, obvious, and then it has this particular, like I read somewhere, I don't say that are my words, but I read it somewhere that they say that the topic of your work are the hidden aspects of everyday life, as well as social groups with their own codes and rules. Mm-hmm. Like, and then I want to say that is absolutely exactly what we have downstairs, but also what we have with some other projects. You know, it means the project Golden Days Before the End could be documentary, but it's not. Yeah. It is, but it's not. Yeah. And it's amazing. I mean, I recommend now everybody to enter in your website, klauspichler.net to visit the project, to see his books, because you will enjoy a lot. You have it's a very intuitive, easy, and comfortable website that you can access easily to the projects. You will read the text in the beginning, down the photo, and then you can be scrolling the photos. I recommend everybody to do it because it's a very nice work. Then I want to say, can you talk us about a little bit about some of these projects, to show us a little bit something that the people can explore in the website? But can you show us a little bit?
Yes, of course.
Some of these projects.
I think in general, what you said about my approach is like, I'm a topic-based photographer. So I start every project. I start at zero, and sometimes it's a really stupid or small idea or a fact or an article or whatever I find, which catches my interest, and then I decide to, okay, I want to deepen my knowledge about it, do some research, and then in the end become an expert by it, more or less. And these are really small topics, and my way of working is like doing research in the beginning, and then in a very late stage I add photography to it. So I think the first 2/3 of the projects are completely without photography. It's more like trying to find out as many facts as possible and think about the concept. And once the concept is ready, I take the camera. So that's why the different projects are so diverse, but they have a red line. They have a connection, because it's always
of course,
like the hidden aspects. Or I think photography is a tool to open doors. It's my key, and it's a privilege to have the camera to get access to different social groups or different places which are hidden. So that's my approach. I'm like a little bit of an explorer. So I think
by where you will start?
I think I'm starting with the oldest project. 1 second. With Skeletons in the Closet.
Oh, wow.
Does it work, the shared screen?
Yes, it works. Now we see the slides. Yes, if you open, yes.
Perfect. This is a project in the non-public areas of the Natural History Museum in Vienna. It also started by a coincidence. I was passing there at night, and I saw an illuminated like office room with normal office table and normal office interior, but a stuffed antelope in the corner. And that was so funny. It was so grotesque what I found, so that I called there, and really the next day in the morning, I called there and asked if it was possible to get access to have a look if the whole backstage areas of the museum looked like this way. And to my surprise, they did. And they granted me access, and I went there to, like, I think 1 or 2 days for almost 3 years, and documented the backstage area of the museum. It's like the whole museum, I didn't touch anything. So the photos are just like as I found them.
Yeah.
Because they are always searching for the best spot to store things in the most space-saving manner. So they use literally every corner to store everything, and so it was quite grotesque. The natural environments from non-public spaces like facility spaces and the specimens of the museum.
That's very funny. This photo is crazy.
That's one of 4 huge wall paintings which are on the walls, and at this time there was a renovation going on, so they just placed it. And the funny story is that 2 institutes which are door to door, but the ex-directors, they didn't get along very well, so they blocked the door between the institutes with this picture.
Wow, it's crazy.
This is a photo of a transport. So some of the still lifes, they were not forever, but just for 5 minutes or even less. Because when I did the project for some time, I was some of the museum stuff was familiar. So they called me when they got some transportation of some more huge objects, and I went there and like took photos of these animal transportations, because the storage rooms are in the basement, and the exhibition rooms are from the 1st to the 4th or 5th floor.
It's funny to think that means that they were not only they accept you to shot, let's say, the backstage, that is not the nicest part. You know, everybody likes to show the nicest part, not the miseries. Let's say, it's not only that they allowed you to do it. If not, they call you when they have transportation to, hey Klaus, come, because now you will enjoy it. You will like it. Come here. It's cool. Very cool.
That's one thing I really love about photography, about focusing on a certain topic that you are also known in the scene you're putting the focus on, so that people are really informing you, hey, please come by, there is something happening. This photo, by the way, is also the cover of the book.
Yeah. Okay.
I did about the series. The book design is like, because everything was really dusty there.
Wait a second, Klaus, if you want to show us the book, stop.
Sorry, okay, I will do it later. Okay.
Okay. Wow.
So this is an elephant foot. This is was also used for an umbrella stand in
let me ask you, all these animals that we are seeing, is the fruit the result of a taxidermia, or is fake, or what is exactly?
It's taxidermia. It are most of them are really historic specimens, because the museum dates back to the 1795. And the old emperor financed huge expeditions to all around the world to collect. I mean, you know what collecting animals means, but they were collecting them and then bringing them back to Vienna in a taxidermed way. Okay. So some of the objects, for example, the animal on the left one, it's
a donkey. It looks like
a mixture of a donkey and a zebra. It's called the quagga.
Yeah.
It's quite rare, and it's from around 1860, 1865. So it's a historic specimen from an old expedition. It was really great fun. It was like at night in the museum for me, my private, private movie. And it was really cool to work with the museum staff, because they really trusted me, and I was able to access like every region. And the more exotic the space was, like in the roof or on the lowest basement, the better it got, because they didn't care for how the animals were placed. It was more like they cared for what takes the least space.
It's so surrealistic. It's fantastic.
That's from a Darwin exhibition, and that's also one of these 10 minutes still lives, because they transported it when the exhibition about Darwin was over. They transported the objects back to the basement, and they called me some days before, so I was able to attend there, and I took some photos. these are the different stages of taxidermy. When you see the thing on the left, it's the basic body of a wolf.
Mm-hmm.
So and then the fur gets mounted on it. So it's some
Okay.
some
I
kind of
understand.
plastic with
Okay. Wow.
this is probably the most well-known pictures from the series. The story behind this, there was a change of directors from the museum, and the old director, he bought a lot of plastic animals, and the new one didn't like them. He said, yeah, I want real animals, and I want to get rid of the plastic animals. So they had to deal with like 25 huge plastic animals and to have
Oh.
to find some space because they were really expensive. They were made in a really naturalistic way, and they were searching for a place wherever possible to store them. And I think the shark is still there.
But the photo in itself with these signals with the means is just a story in itself.
Yeah. To my surprise, when I showed the photos to the museum staff, they were really amused because they all said, yeah, we didn't have a look at our house in this manner. So they were
Yeah.
really surprised about the photographic qualities of the still lifes.
One thing, and those three?
Those three are, that's a funny story because there was an exhibition about the Ötzi, the man from the ice, with a mummified man, which is more than, I think, 3,000 years old. And those were moulages, means plastic figures, they naturalistic plastic figures from Neanderthals. And when the exhibition was over, they knew that 1 week after, the three figures would have to be transported to a different place. So they just put it in the D room of the department director's office. And yeah, he also called me and said, yeah, maybe you should come over because I have something for you.
come to take the tea with them. Okay.
It was really funny when he opened the door. In the first moment, I thought three people were sitting there nude and looking strange, but then I realized, okay, these are naturalist figures.
Probably you were expecting, like, the first time when you visit the parents of your first girlfriend, that you are young, you were scared. And suddenly, amazing work, incredible.
I think I will stop this the shared screen and show you the book of the series.
Yes, please.
Because this is also something which is important for me, is to find a book design which has a connection with the content of the series. So in this case, the series is called Skeletons in the Closet. And I tried to make a book which is also a skeleton of a book. So there is no wrapping around it. It's the naked binding.
Yes.
And this cardboard. And because in the museum, everything was dusty. So I wanted to create like an impression that you have to rub a hole into the dusty glass that you can get a glimpse to the inside. So this is the elevated beer as my cup of tea. And I think the book is around 90 photos from the different. So these are the transportation boxes for the skeletons, because that's from the anthropological department. They have I have to search if I find it. The skulls of the skeletons are stored in the 3rd floor, and the according bones are stored in the basement. So they have plenty of banana boxes to transport. If they want to have the whole skeleton, then they have to transport it to the 3rd floor. So these are the skeleton transportation boxes.
My God.
Yeah, this is a typical wall in the museum. So it's a really great place. Of course, this is non-public, but the public part of the museum is also really great. So if you happen to be in Vienna and want to have a look at the great collection in a historic ambient, then just go there. It's got the Museum of Natural History, Vienna.
I will call you to drive me around.
Yeah, definitely. I can tell you plenty of stories. It's really cool house. Okay, I will switch to the next project. Also an older one. I will share my screen again. Okay, it's called Just the Two of Us.
Okay.
One second. And it's a project about people and their alter egos, their costumes. Because I was focusing on the carnival movement in Austria, and then I found out that not only the carnival is linked to costumes, but there are plenty of different traditions where having an alter ego is important. So I did some research, and then I got in contact with different groups, like completely different traditions, like cosplay, Star Wars fans, Krampus or Bärchen, which is an Austrian tradition, and so on and so on. And I visited the people at home and staged them in their costumes in their own.
It means what we're going to see now is people in their own home, in their
Yes.
own place, with their own costumes, alter egos, however we want to call it.
Exactly.
Wow.
Because I thought that's a nice way of photography to combine the civil person with the way of how the flat is designed and the interior, and also the alter ego with the costume. So
yeah. Again, we are in a documentary world that is not a documentary world that it is, because yes, it is, but you are in this hidden part that nobody see except sometimes when they want, I suppose.
Yeah, I would call it a stage documentary with a really simple concept, like taking photos of people in their costumes in their own homes. And I also thought that costumes are mostly made for like an action. So they are more or less, when you see them outside, they are part of like a parade or a carnival or something which is linked to action. So I tried to stage them in the most quiet and contemplative settings, and also doing like household things, but more or less being passive because they are made for action. And so I tried to put this thing around.
What has absolutely parallelism with what you found in the skeleton project.
Exactly, yeah.
Out of context, but yeah.
More or less, it is also the same, because a taxidermied animal is also just a shell. So the body is from plastic, and the fur it's like a costumed plastic form. So more or less, it's the same, because these are also like entities or not really animals, but different beings.
Yes. And when you put it out of the place, my God, when you put out of the place and you put in like a domestic stage or a normal everyday's life situation, it came so weird.
It can get grotesque, yes.
Yes.
It was also interesting because the age range in the project is between, I think, 8 years and 78 years. So it was really, really cool to be invited in the different flats and to take photos there. This is a LARP, live action role playing character. And this is really one of the legends in Austria, because he's doing this live action role playing for 30 years. Wow. And he has a whole basement filled with costumes he needed in these actions. So when I visited him, he said, yeah, okay, let's go to the basement and you can pick the costume you like best. And we did some experiments with his costume. So it was really great fun to talk to people who are really, really dedicated.
Yeah, but also, you know, because the very interesting part of the portrait, when you took a photo of somebody in his own place, is that you see his life through the objects, the decoration, the wallpapers, and it's quite interesting. Yeah.
I mean, basically, it's not that different, because you're picking the interior of your flat according to your own taste, and you're also picking your alter ego according to your own taste. So
of
basically,
course, yes,
it's the same move, more or less. But I didn't expect that it was that close. So it was really.
I was referring to this. Okay.
This is one of the furry or fursuit movement who are. That's the tradition which is, for me, it's most fascinating, because it really starts at zero. Because cosplay, for example, you're trying to make a costume which is linked to a real character from manga or anime movies or whatever, some TV series, And in the fursuiter movement, they are really thinking about, it's about creating an anthropomorphic animal character, and they are starting from scratch. So the first idea is, what animal do I want to be? What colors do I want to have? What character do I want to have? And so on. So they are completely building their alter ego characters starting by zero. And I think that's really fascinating, to get like animals which are completely out of the imagination of the people. And I really enjoyed this tradition the most. And this is Star Wars, of course, which is also a huge tradition in cosplay, I would say. This is the 5-year-old.
Well, I can say that looks like a Lego Star Wars.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. This is Halo. This is a character from a computer game called Halo, and the guy, he was 19 back then, and he made it entirely himself. And it was, I think, 25 kilos or something. So
Wow.
it was really molded. And he earned a little additional money with going to discos and doing some kind of photo posing shows with his costume. This is my favorite Star Wars couple, and it's not a lie, but this is also their wedding gear. So they were wedding, they had a Star Wars wedding, and they were wedding in this outfit. Of course, they took off the helmets, but these are their favorite characters, and the whole wedding was dressed in Star Wars. 30 people. It's incredible. That's of course a carnival creature. Then also Star Wars, Boba Fett.
Did you did a book with this project also?
Yes. It's embarrassing, but I have none. I have no copy anymore. I have given away all the copies, so it's sold out, and I don't even have. My girlfriend has one. It's the really last one. Wow. So I would love to show it, but I don't have it.
You cannot. Okay. Well, it's a good news that it was sold out.
Yeah, and they gave away plenty of, because of course the people who were taking part in the project, they wanted not one but more or less 5 or 10, and of course they got it. That's also live action role playing. It's called Warhammer LARP, and this guy, he's a technician. He's a genius. He has constructed all the costume himself. It's incredible.
Yeah,
you can move different parts, and I was really enthusiastic about his technical and skills. That's Carnival again. That's the oldest person in the project. She's 78, and the empty place on the bed is the place of her husband, who has passed away some years before. And she said, yeah, she just left it like that because, I don't know, she didn't want to move, and so she wanted to try out how it feels to be dead herself. She was quite sarcastic, so it was really quite fun. And she's part of the Carnival Society. That's also Krampus, a female one. Krampus is an Austrian tradition, which is accompanying Saint Nicholas at December the 5th. As the Saint Nicholas is the good side, and they are the bad side. So it's kind of black pedagogic, and it's quite a huge tradition in the western part of Austria. And also the costumes are made from really talented craftsmen. Some of them are really doing this carving of the masks as their main jobs. The knight from a tradition, it's called Battle of the Nations. It's full contact medieval sword fight. And if you ever have the time to Google Battle of the Nations, it's incredible because there are so many videos showing these real medieval armored fights. It's not a show. It's a sport, and it's really brutal. It's incredible. The
truth is that every time that you enter in a little world of, now you're talking about this, but in every world that is not yours, and you arrive for the first time, you scratch a little bit and you see that, all the things that you can find there are incredible in every little thing of the life, any followers of a computer game or a car or everything. of course, we know everything about football and these kind of things, but when you go to something that is not so obvious, is amazing. Okay.
I enjoyed it. That's one of the things that I really enjoy about photography. For me, it's a door opener. And no matter if it's in commissions or in free projects, I have entered so many spaces which were really phenomenally secluded, and it wouldn't have been possible to be part of it and be accepted and also anticipated there. And that's really something I really enjoy about photography.
Yeah.
Because you get to know the world or society or like different persons, and that's one thing which is really, it never stops making me happy and glad. That's a tradition. That's a huge group in Vienna, and they are attending the Venice Carnival year by year, and they are tailoring the costumes themselves. It's incredible. So on the left side, you see the photos from the costumes from the last.
Yes.
It's incredible. She's really talented. That's also one of the fursuiters. That's Anubis, the Egyptian god of death. It's cosplay. I think I will speed up a little.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you are. You are in the mall. Amazing.
Yeah, theoretically there would be a book, but
okay.
I'm gonna switch to the next project.
I will say that if somebody find the book, buy it immediately, and we will have a good thing.
And sell it on eBay afterwards, please. Okay, next one is Golden Days. Golden Days is a project about a very special kind of bars. These are bars which have been present in Vienna for almost 60 years, and they are disappearing rapidly. So the most important aspect is that they are small places, and you can't buy any food there. You just can buy drinks and cigarettes, but nothing to eat except peanuts or I don't know.
Yeah, something like.
But in most of the cases, it's just like meeting places for drinking. And this generation and this type of bars is disappearing rapidly. So together with a journalist, Clemens Marshall, I have tried to document these places before they were gone. And we went there on a regular basis for 4 years and photographed in more than 100 places. And in the book, there are, I think, 72 or 73 places. And I think 2/3 of it are already gone. So the book was published 2016 and only 30 to 40% of these bars exist anymore.
Wow. I remember being in London. I think that in Vienna. I think that the first time when I went there, I went for the photo book festival, and then I went back again for A-Zone festival. And I remember the first one, I tried to eat something at 9 and it was impossible because the kitchens were closing. That for me was surprising, not only like a Catalan, also because I'm living in Serbia and it's kind of the same. But then I always have the same feeling and I make the same mistake. You enter in a bar that they look quite like your ones, but they have also food your ones not. Yeah. And I remember that you arrive there and they come the waiter and ask if you want to be in a smoker or non-smoker section. And then, like I am not a smoker, I always stupidly say non-smoker. And then you go to a room that is like a funeral, or you are alone and you are with two people that if there's a couple, they don't talk each other, and everybody's quiet. And then you pass by the smoking area and there is a crazy party that I said, yeah, I have to go there next time. I have to choose the smoking, but always make the mistake.
I mean, these times are also gone because smoking is abolished since 1.5 years, I think.
Okay.
So there is funeral mood everywhere now.
I didn't imagine it.
Okay, I will start. Yeah, the book consists of photos and also quotes from the interviews. So we separated our way of working. Clemens, the journalist, he interviewed the waiters and waitresses and the owners of the bars, and I took photos of the people there, of the guests, and also of the bars. And it's somehow our results are dialectic, because the guests, they just want to have booze and they want to have a party, and the owners, they just want to have a quiet mood and earn the money, and everything is really like settled and in a quiet manner. So it's like a fight. The guests are fighting against the owners, and that's really funny.
Wow.
Who is the real boss? I don't know. In the end, of course, the owner is the boss, but sometimes you get the feeling that the guests are the real bosses, because without them, of course, the places wouldn't be able to exist. Yeah, it was really great fun to be there, and in the beginning, I was not convinced that we would be able to take photos there, because the reputation of this place is not the best reputation in Vienna, to say it in kind words, because nobody dares to enter it.
Yeah.
Because they have the reputation that there are fights and there are some burglaries and drugs and blah blah blah. So this kind of people, which is of course true, but on the one hand, but on the other hand, it's just a matter how you behave yourself. Because if you behave in a polite and nice way, then you don't have to fear anything. But if you are searching confrontation and conflict, it's really no problem. And I've experienced plenty of times how the general mood can change within 5 seconds. So
My God.
if somebody who is not known there, just going there to provoke something, then yeah, okay. I've seen plenty of stuff, and I have the thing I remember best is that I was sitting there and there was a fight next to me, and the entrance door was like 2 meters away, but for me it felt like 10 kilometers, because I wasn't allowed, I wasn't able to just leave it. And that was really something strange, because once you're there, then you're part of it and you can't just escape. Because otherwise, if you escape, then it would be possible that the persons who are fighting just try to catch you, because they fear that you're calling the police. So you're part of it in the moment you're entering it. That was something really hermetic and strange to experience.
I wanted to ask you how, in general, these people receive you. Suddenly, one person Austrian, but they don't know you, and you are there with the camera. That is quite invasive somehow. How they receive you? How means they were no problem for you to take photos? Because we saw that someone they had a lot of fun. But how was?
It strangely in the beginning I was quite shy, and it was like, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm a photographer and I'm doing a book and blah blah blah. And then and if it's possible to take photos there. And then I noticed, yeah, if there is a yes, then it's a really yes, straight from the heart. So I began to feel more and more secure. And when I entered a new place, I just said, yeah, I'm a photographer, I'm doing a book about these bars. Is it okay to take photos there? And if they agreed, I was and you know, I started with the boss, with the person behind the bar. And if this person said yes, then it was a definite yes, and they had no problems. If this person said no, then it would be better to just leave it immediately.
I was wondering that could be the opposite, because you mentioned that somehow the guests, they became the owners. But I imagine that in that case is that you have to ask probably to the people, and then the boss will say, okay, do it. I don't know.
No. What one thing I have learned in photography is always start on the peak of it, like
yeah,
always start with the bosses, because otherwise maybe the boss is angry at you, or yeah, it's like people are behaving like children sometimes. And if you don't start on the emperor's level, then you can have some really bad consequences. So I always start asking with the owners. And you know, the word of the owners was the law, so people really had no chance to say anything against it. But on the other hand, the guests, they were really happy to be photographed, because most of them are from really underprivileged social groups, like ex-prisoners or alcoholics, unemployed persons, and so on. So they were used that nobody takes notice of them, and in a way it was sometimes also therapeutic for them to
Absolutely.
be in the spotlight and to have this 15 minutes of fame. And I noticed that all the time when I went there some time later and showed them and also brought them prints of the photos. And they were so happy. Sometimes they had tears in their eyes because they said, yeah, the last time I was photographed was in prison. So yeah, it was really, really heartbreaking sometimes because some of the people were really poor and they didn't have like this one in particular. He definitely didn't have an easy life, and he was in and out of prison since his early days. He grew up in an orphanage and so on. And I really had fun with him, and he was a really smart guy. You know, this way of prison smartness, like shaped and educated by life. And yeah, he passed away like I think half a year after this image. And he was really charming person. So I really enjoyed it to be there.
Yeah.
I have to translate this. That's the quote on this sheet is drink yourself rich, 1 Jägermeister and 1 lottery ticket, only €2.50.
I wanted to say that for me, for my taste for photography, the interiors are really, really interesting also.
Yeah, that's
the last one photo that you put, it was beautiful. Really nice space.
It's kind of a time travel sometimes because plenty of these places are linked to like small criminals and also the red light district milieu from the 1950s to the 1980s. And it was quite common for prostitutes that they saved some money, and when they were too old to be prostitutes, then they rented or bought some of these places. So of course they took their old customers and their old pimps. So it was kind of the same social area. So it's deeply linked to these old traditions of red light and criminals. And sometimes it really was a time travel. I think this is from the 1980s.
Wow. Be. Yes.
And it on the one hand, of course, it was depressing sometimes, but on the other hand, it was really, really great fun. I had such wonderful and funny nights with these people there. I will never forget it. And one thing I really learned is being quick in conversation, because no matter how drunk they were really making fun of themselves in the most subtle and quick way possible. So that was really, really something I learned a lot about communication.
Yeah.
Café Alzheimer, which is really because they picked the name because they dedicated the place to like activities you don't know about the day after.
Well, I read before a quote that say the people came on Friday and they don't leave until Monday morning or something like this. Yeah. I can imagine.
If even on Monday morning, because there was the Blue Monday. It was common for working class people that they pretended to be on their job, but they were in fact on Monday, they were in fact in these bars.
Okay.
I don't know the story behind this €10. He's one of the guys I still have contact with, and he's like a stand-up guy. It's incredible. He lives in cars or under bridges or whatever, because he's too proud to go in a homeless people home. So he tries to just find a place where he can sleep for some weeks or months or even days, and then he stays there. So he lived in a car for almost 3.5 years.
It's crazy.
If it was too cold, then he just put the motor on and it was no problem. I'm gonna speed up a little.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's strange to look at these photos because almost all of these places are gone and so many people on the photos are dead already.
Yeah.
sometimes it was really a matter of a week, because sometimes I photographed one guy and then I went there 1 or 2 weeks after to bring him the photos, and yeah, he was dead.
Wow.
In the meantime. It was incredible. I mean, you see here the general mood. It's very physical.
Yes.
And making fun, but in a really rough way.
A bit, let's say, in a teenager way somehow.
Yeah, definitely.
Oof, yeah.
That's for me a metaphor for the life of these people, because it's a house of cards. It can crumble and fall down every second, and the people are living on the edge. And I noticed it because for me, like as a freelance photographer with a settled background and education and so on, when I went there, I always thought, okay, this is real life. There is no second layer of safety. There is no safety net. This is really like real life, and if something happens, then it's existential.
Absolutely.
Which brings us to the dogs. They are the best friends of these people, because they have, all in all, they have been betrayed by so many people, but they have never been betrayed by their dogs. And
never.
The relation between them and their dogs is really something special. And this is also one thing. There are so many stories about special guests who have some kind of a special ability. Like this guy, he's really like a kung fu fighter with 65 years old, and they are quite famous in their main bar and the surrounding bars, because more than once they told me, yeah, you have to enter this place up the street, because there is one guy who is able to do this and that. It was really fun. And then I went there and said, yeah, over there the guys that told me that you have a special guest, is he here? So yeah, no, he's only attending on Thursday or something. Then I went there again on Thursday, and then the magic happened. Okay, I think
people, they are mainly Austrians, or there are also some from other countries that emigrate to Austria?
I think it's 99% Austrians and 1% of ex like Gastarbeiter. Don't know if you know that, understand the word. It's
yes.
It's in Serbia in particular.
No, in Serbia we know a lot the word, because we have a lot of Serbians and ex-Yugoslavs in Germany or in Austria.
Mm-hmm. And these Gastarbeiteri, they are like 50% Serbian or Albanian or Turkish and 50% Austrian, because they are here for so long. And alcohol is something which is uniting. So it's international. And of course, if this person is living next door, then of course he goes there to drink. And it's, I wouldn't say it's anti-racist, but it's more like, because the main political party is more on the right-wing side, because in general they have this paradox political views of searching for a group which is already below. If you are below yourself, then you're searching for one which is even lower, and that's foreigners. And that's one paradox thing. But in general, they are having something against foreigners in general, but not in particular. So if you're a foreigner and you go there and you behave well, then you're accepted. It's this strange phenomenon of xenophobia, which is just on a not on a particular basis. I will never understand it, how one can think about it this way, because it's about human qualities. But yeah, it's hard to talk about it showing a photo with a Hitler mask. That's
on a woman. Yeah. Yes.
That's more the kind of Austrian black humor. But of course, communism is also present. It's carnival. He was not drunk at all. I asked him if I was allowed to take a photo, because for me he looked like, I don't know, Charles Bronson or some movie star. And he said, yeah, if you want to take a photo, then wait a second, because I want to make a special gimmick for you. I want to take a special position. And then he went down on the floor because he wanted to be photographed in this way. He was not drunk at all.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, I will speed up to PM time. Let's focus on This Will Change Your Life Forever, the picture, the
yes,
project.
That is the project. Is the project that we have here. Again, now I will invite everybody who is in Belgrade or who will pass by here to come to see the project. Is in Bioscope Balkan in the -1 floor, and I will say that, of course, today with you, Klaus, you are going to show us more work because we have just few pieces in our place, in our gallery, in the space, and you will be showing us your work. You will show more pieces, but I want to ask you. How was that you arrived to the interest of this community, these esoteric groups? That is, again, particular, something that you scratch, and there is a lot of things in the back. How you arrived there to this project?
It started when two friends of mine who were kind of suffering a life crisis began to, like, independently, they not even know each other, but they began to develop interest in this kind of things and this kind of topics. And both of them were changing as persons a lot. So they were becoming different persons within half a year or a year. And they began to dedicate their whole life to this esotericism. And that was something which really made me angry, because both of them spent their savings and were completely unapproachable, and yeah, they have nothing to do with the persons they have been before. So the friendship was gone, and I was staying back, like, really thinking about what could have happened. So that's when I decided to, like, do some research. In the beginning, I didn't plan to do a project about it because I just didn't know it, and I wanted to find out what it was all about. And then I, yeah, pretty soon got in touch with this nonsense side of it. For me, it's completely nonsense. And also with this capitalistic side that spirituality is sold for services, for products, and so on. So, okay, I decided then, yeah, okay, I want to make a photo project out of it because it's really photogenic in a way. And it's also deeply linked to photography because there are plenty of photos which are taken as evidences, like photos from like this one. Like, if somebody's managed to photograph an aura or something, then he say, yeah, that's a sign of a presence of some supernatural powers or something.
Yeah.
And for me as a photographer, I know how this kind of evidence photos, so-called evidence photos, are taken, and I try to recreate them with the most stupid ways possible. So I went to the pharmacy and I got hemorrhoid cream and I put it on top of the lens, and then I photographed a subway bridge in Vienna, and that's the result of it. So that's nothing supernatural, and I just basically, for the project, I pretended to be also a follower of these theories, and I went to esoteric fairs and gatherings and attended online groups and discussion forums and so on. And I pretended to be an esoteric fan to get some inside knowledge about it, and then I compiled the whole thing into a book. And
is a big movement. It means there is a lot of people in this culture. Yeah.
There are statistics in Germany, and in Germany, in 2014, I have the statistics for 2014. The beer industry was selling beer for 8 billion euros, and the esoteric and alternative medicine sector was raising money for 14 billion euros. So it's even bigger than the beer industry in Germany. In Austria, it's the same. It's really, really huge, and it starts with homeopathy and alternative medicine, Bach remedies, and so on, and ends with this really crazy stuff. And of course, in this book, there is more the more crazy stuff, like these products. I began to buy this crazy stuff on eBay and Amazon. These are huge marketplaces. For example, this is an energy button. It's a regular wooden button.
Mhm.
It's even a plastic button. It costs 26 euro because the seller pretends that it's energized by special energies, which is of course nothing.
Wow.
Or it's called a balance solver, but of course it's a wooden dowel with some flat washers from IKEA. So if you want to buy to construct it yourself, it's like 10 cents, but the selling price was 39 euros for it.
We can call it sector. Can you separate? I mean, I suppose that when you are talking about these people, this esoteric stuff, you are making a difference from, let's say, homeopathic medicine and this kind of thing.
Basically, it's the same, but of course, there is I would call it, there is esoteric, which is that famous and well known that you don't identify it as esoteric anymore because it's so common that you don't know that it's the same principle. If you go back to homeopathy, there are things like the basic principles, this potentiation and so on. These are things which are incomprehensible with any laws of physics. So that's complete nonsense. But it's so broad and it's so common that it's not identified as esoteric anymore. Same with Reiki therapy and so on and so on. So there are plenty of really or this shamanism, like extraction rituals and so on, or even feng shui, some of the feng shui stuff, which has nothing to do with the traditional Chinese feng shui, but more with this plastic feng shui, which is westernized, which is nothing else. So basically, it's possible to just put it in one pot and
yeah. In this project, you mentioned that you were getting involved. You bought products. You went to fairs. I suppose that there are any kind of, let's say, religious moments for them, kind of meetings. You were part in something.
I think it's not really religious. It's more.
No,
like
sorry, I don't want to say religious. I want to make this kind of
spiritual
encounters, rituals. Yes.
Yeah. Yes, there are plenty of, and the thing is that the esoteric scene, it's really multi-faced and faceted, and there are so many different movements and so many different schools and approaches. So the basic thing is, if you have some kind of deficit, if you're unhappy, if you have some physical pains or whatever, something which you want to have relief from, then you can go there, and there are so many different groups and aspects. So if one thing doesn't work, then you can switch to the next one and next one and next one and so on. So you can spend your savings in a really diverse way without having won anything except knowledge, more or less, what doesn't work.
Yeah,
it's quite strange, and also there are groups which don't get along very well because they are contradictory, but they all fit under the big like umbrella of esotericism. It's really paradox. What is maybe the best to describe is the huge range of nonsense products. For example, this is a feng shui car spacer. You put it in the rear window of your car, so nobody will crash in your rear, which is completely nonsense. But they pretend that the aggressive form makes the persons driving behind to keep the distance.
Okay.
Yeah. This thing, it's a normal wooden cutting board, and it costs 278 euros. And they pretend that it's an energy coaster, so you can put it below anything, and the thing you place on it gets cleared from like negative energies, toxins, and so on and so on. So some kind of a magic wooden cutter. But
yeah,
of course, if you buy it online, it's €3 or something. So
and I don't want to offend anybody, of course, it's not my intention, but obviously, like the people buy believing is like a placebo. I'm sure that they are full satisfied because it works for them.
Yeah. It's, for me, the thing is, esotericism as a whole, the effects of it, it's just linked to the vegetative nervous system.
Yeah.
The same which makes you happy, which makes you sad, which makes you tired, and so on. And so you can perfectly program yourself without needing any of these esoteric services or products. So more or less, it's like externalizing things into an object, into a service, and so on. Things which you are perfectly capable of doing yourself with your nervous system. And that's something which is really cynical for me and sarcastic in a way, because you need to buy expensive stuff which pretends to do some things you're able to do yourself, and in fact you are doing it yourself.
Yeah,
that's the principle. But it's really, if you have some deficit and you're really unhappy about it, or even filled with pain, then of course you're grabbing every straw somebody is holding to you. I understand it from the principle, but it's like taking advantage of people in difficult situations, nothing else.
absolutely. I remember once, some years ago, I bring to my gallery one Brazilian photographer, Thais Medina, and her project was mainly about products also. Let's say black and white magic products that the people used to buy in Brazil very cheap for get the love of somebody or to break a relation of somebody, you know, powders, tablets, all these kind of things. And it was absolutely different, of course. But yeah, it's curious how somebody is taking profit of the people who has some, like you say, some deficits of something, some needs, some lacks, yes.
I mean, my main criticism is not the spirituality. I think spirituality is something which is really great, because there are,
absolutely,
in being human, there are questions you can't answer, and it's really important to reflect upon that. But taking advantage of it in a capitalist logic, that's something which is really critical for me, and which is dangerous, and which is in a way cynical and misanthropic, because you're taking advantage as a seller, you're taking advantage of people who are in difficult situations, and you're trying to just get their money, more or less, by promising them, like promising them salvation or whatever.
Yeah,
that's like I used myself as a model, because I think esotericism is in a way always egoistic. It's about like the next level, or freeing myself, or blah blah blah, like different achievements. But it's everything is about the self. It's not a social group, it's more antisocial. So I decided that I am my own model, and I'm sometimes from 2 to I think 97 times on a photo.
Yeah. Well, I saw you in several ones in this project. You are self-portraiting yourself, yes.
I'm gonna speed up a little bit. This is a wall plug socket. No, it's a electric plug, and you have to plug in your stereo, and then the sound of the stereo gets cleared. So the electricity gets cleared, and the stereo's hi-fi sounds better. It's also around 280 euro if you buy it, and it's just a regular device. You can buy it for 1 or 2 euro.
I think that more than one person who is watching in live this talk, or they will watch it later, they will rethink what they are doing with their life, which business they can do.
Yeah.
My God.
That was so strange. When I did the project, I thought, okay, if I would be an asshole, then it would be possible to me to make a really good living from it within 2 years, because I know I'm able to take nice photos of it, and I have kind of understood the principle behind it, and I'm able to program a website, so it wouldn't be a problem to make an own business of it. But of course, it's cynical. Yeah. It's not a real idea, but I thought, okay, it's so easy. It's so easy to do it. You just like you just assume anything. Like, I don't know, drinking wine cures depression or something, and then you find a marketing principle for it and create products out of it, and suddenly you're a seller. And if it is made clever and illustrated in a nice, pleasing visual way, it's no problem to make a living out of it.
Absolutely. Oh my God.
This is globally. This is kind of an homeopathic approach, and yeah, there are so many different homeopathic substances, and it just matters how you program your globally. And these ones are programmed with unconditional love, so they are sold for like spreading unconditional love.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works, but yeah.
No, no, I suppose that these people are the same, that they don't believe in the COVID and all these things, or
Exactly
they,
the same.
you know?
And there are really difficult new like connections, because they are more and more getting in touch with the right-wing extremists and the conspiracy theorists. So it's a really poisonous brew which is growing at the moment. It's a really threatening movement, I think.
I wanted, this is a question that I wanted to do for later when we'll be ending, but did you thought to work or something with this, let's say, in I don't know, flat, I don't know how to say now in English.
The flat Earth Society.
Yes, in Spanish we call terraplanistas, or these people who don't believe in the COVID, means that they are in this negation against the COVID and all these things. Did you thought to, or you probably you start to do any project with these people or not, or you don't want to put your life in risk?
No. That's never the cause why I don't want to do it. But for me, it's more like in esotericism, it's easy to do anything about it, because there are so many products and so many rituals which you can recreate. But on the like these flat earthers and conspiracy theorists, this is a movement where there are no products, so there are no symbols for it. And there are just symbols which are more or less propaganda. So I think it's really difficult to do anything, a project about it, without creating a stage for these people. And I really don't want to amplify their idea, as stupid as they may be. But that's the problem with it, that you are also involuntarily amplify their stupidity. And,
you are part, yes.
And it's deeply linked to social media. So I don't feel comfortable with doing anything about these groups, because I don't know, either you're a follower of them or you're opponent of them. So
yeah, but I understand.
It's when you talk about it in the connection with COVID-19, I just recently talked to a historian, and he told me that whenever there was a pandemic, no matter if Black Death or the Spanish flu or whatever, there were always these conspiracy groups, but only the subjects have changed. Now it's the like CIA or Bill Gates or whatever, this strange stuff. And before that, like in the ages before, it was witchcraft or metaphysics or the devil or something. So that's only the solution they are blaming it for. They have changed, but not the principle. So
yes, they just changed it. Yes, understand.
Okay, I think I will stop here.
Okay.
And stop this sharing of the screen. Yeah, I think you told me that you have some questions.
Yeah, I want to make you some, let's say, late questions. I repeat, I will remind people who is watching this talk online that if somebody has a question, any comment for Klaus, do it in Facebook. I will read it and I will read to Klaus. Yes, I want to ask you one thing. You mentioned that during this pandemic time, you had less work regarding museums, shooting, blah, blah, blah. But did you work something else? Do you work probably research for a future project during this pandemic? How did you manage this pandemic time? That in Austria has been quite strong.
Yeah, I locked myself in the studio, more or less. I produced 2 new projects, and I was lucky because I had plenty of commissions which are not linked to a certain place. So some still lifes, some digital collages, where everything went just online or just by mail. So they sent me their stuff, and I took photos from it in the studio. But there were times where I had no commissions, and I really locked myself and tried to be productive, because in stressy times I always thought, okay, I want to have 1 month of uninterrupted studio time. And then in the beginning of the pandemic, I thought, okay, now that's the moment
time.
I was waiting for years, and I tried to be as productive and as positive as possible. And yeah,
It worked out well. It worked out well.
Yeah. In the results, definitely. But of course, it wasn't easy back sometimes, because when you're surrounded by bad news, it's really hard to stay positive. Or
Yes,
when you're my parents live in the countryside, and I wasn't able to visit them for some month, and it was sometimes it was shitty times, but sometimes it was really great times. So, but
yeah, okay.
yeah, I'm looking forward going back to normal soon. Hopefully.
I think that really soon will be. I mean, every day, everywhere, we are a bit more normal. I think that will be. I want to ask you: are you working something new now? You have any project ongoing? New books? Like you are quite active in books, new exhibitions, new projects. Tell us something. If you want to show us, show us. If not, I saw something. I don't know. You can show it.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it makes sense, because it's just a draft for the new book and it will change a lot. But there are 2 new books in the pipeline, and 1 project is about to be finished. 1 book is like a follow-up to the Golden Days book. It's a book about a guy I met in one of these bars, and he was really special. He died early last year, and unfortunately, and I attended him for almost 3.5 years, and he was really special, very charismatic guy with crazy costumes. So he was between his 62nd and his 65th year, and he was just like, yeah, uncomparable, more or less, with people. He was doing some kind of taking revenge on everybody who has been mean throughout his whole life.
Wow.
And I accompanied him by provoking by his visual approach, by his behavior, and so on. So I was there over a really long period of time when he confronted himself with like literally everyone.
Wow.
And yeah, it's quite intense book, and I'm really looking forward to it a lot. And the second book is one of the big, let's say, content changes, more or less, because I decided to go back to the topics of my studies and go back to natural sciences, because I think as a person, for me at the moment, science is the most important and most interesting field for me. It's not culture or society anymore. It's more like science, because especially during the pandemic, I more and more found out how great and how breathtaking science can be. So I decided to switch my interest back then and to take this kind of natural science and botanics approach. And I'm focusing on different anecdotes from science where a plant is in the center and some interests are around it. And there are some really interesting cases of plants who are like, the new book is about transgenic petunias, which were breeded and spread worldwide without permission and without getting noticed as transgenic for 25 years. And the whole case got uncovered in 2015, and then all the orange petunias worldwide had to be destroyed.
Wow.
It's a really strange story, and I did a book which is between truth and fiction. And I'm currently working with a graphic designer, so it's in the last stages of it, and the book will be printed in July, and I think I will present it in late August or early September.
Cool.
So it's almost finished. And yeah, and there are some projects in half finished stage, some ideas. So it has really been a creative year in a way.
That's important. We, like you say, we had the typical month that we all wish, but when we go to the beach.
Yeah.
This year we have it to work at home, and it goes. It means the ones of us that we manage well mentally, or the moment that you can manage well mentally, it was a very important moment.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one thing you will remember until the end of your days. It's
sure.
Something really special, and it has also brought up a lot of knowledge about the human behavior, how humans behave in a rational, in an irrational, in a fearful, in a enthusiastic or exhaustive way, or whatever. So it has brought up things from the deeps in a psychological way, and I was really it was interesting to observe people like in the public transport, or to observe myself, because there were plenty of things from childhood coming up, like old behaviors and so on. When if you're hermetic, then you're quite in touch with yourself, and it was really interesting to experience, to find out.
Yes, and we have time still, because now when everything will be easy, let's say that it's not the same to be with a mask and close at home for 1 month than to be for almost 1 year and a half. It means they
Yeah.
behave a lot of people. It will take time to get normal.
Definitely.
If it gets full normal.
Yeah, if any time.
Yes, let's wish that yes.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to tell us something else?
Thanks for your interest. It was, and thanks for a great question. It was really great fun. And yeah, I just invite you to stay tuned for my new stuff. There will be plenty of stuff being published. I've taken a break from publishing for almost 4 years to focus on new projects, but I think with the first book it will start, and then I'm quite motivated to produce new stuff.
Cool. I will tell you, thank you very much for being here today, 1 hour and a half almost talking to us about your work. Thank you very much for being in our space downstairs. And I will say again, thank you, very special thank you very much for the thanks to the Austrian Culture Forum in Belgrade in Serbia, the Embassy of Austria in Serbia, Adrian and all the team that they support a lot and they encourage, and it's priceless. And just thanks to the Sasha Marcheta Foundation and the Bioscope Balkan to host 50% of the festival almost, and your work in particular. Thank you very much, and I hope soon we'll be traveling again, and I want to come back to Vienna.
Yeah.
To enjoy, we will be in contact.
Cool. Thanks a lot. Then have a great evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, thank you very much for the people who enjoyed this talk. It has been very interesting enjoying Klaus' work. Like I said in the beginning, I will invite everybody to follow his website. It's quite rich and very well organized. You will see very well his work, and you can read, you can see, you will enjoy it very much. Okay, thank you very much, and keep working. Festival is not finished yet. We still have exhibitions going on and some openings coming. Enjoy and thank you.